doon sana yun eh. Or dito. Dito na lang siguro. Diyan na lang, diyan na lang, diyan na lang. Ha? Ayan. Liverpool.
Kasi doon tayo sa main shop.
Oo. Doon sa kabila. Wait lang, may liliko.
Alam mo, pinaikot-ikot pa tayo.
Ano talaga?
Ayun mo, umalis na, sayang.
Ay, sus. Pinagano muna tayo doon para hindi na natin balikan.
Ha?
Pinaikot tayo doon.
Ito kaya? Dito tayo.
More about the Titanic, do go and visit the Maritime Museum at the Albert Dock.
Titanic dito kasi. Yung
Just passing our shopping area on the right there. And now we're turning on to Castle Street, the first built-up street in the city centre, so lots of these buildings go right back to the 1700s. And out ahead of us we've got Liverpool Town Hall, second oldest building in the city centre, dating right back to 1745, with Minerva, goddess of the seas, on the top. Castle Street that we've just turned off is a lovely street to put your map away in your pocket, go for a little meander around, and if you do, go around the back of the town hall where you will find an incredible statue in exchange flags. That's the big square behind the town hall, and you'd also find one of the best tapas restaurants. Thank you, Colin. Nearly forgot you there, you should have shouted. Sorry, my brain's still waking up. How that got to number one, I'll never know, but it did. We're now on Victoria Street, part of the old administrative quarter. Also the place where we did used to have our big Pride Festival every year. And if you look up on the left, on the balcony of the Certina, you will see our LGBT pigeons, helping us to celebrate diversity. Beautiful Georgian Street. It's always been a medical street as well as residential, and these days you can get anything done on this street. They say you can walk in one end up in 70 and out the other up in 21, but you best know the right way to go. And as a medical street, it is also the street where the X-ray machine was designed and developed by Liverpool University, and that was paid for by Mersey Docks and Harbour Board. Rodney Street is also said to be the most haunted street in the city centre. Now there are lots of blue plaques, black plaques, gold plaques, you name it, all the way along Rodney Street. And in fact Brian Epstein, the Beatles manager, was born at the other end of the street out front there in a little nursing home. His mum didn't trust the hospitals at the time. So in the 1970s, National Museums and Galleries bought this building up. They have been looking for a place up north where they could bring the very biggest statues and artefacts to be restored and repaired. So that building completely fitted the bill. It's now the Conservation Centre. Now in Liverpool we do have two football teams. So coming up on our left is the Dixie Dean Hotel for Everton. But ignore that one, because on the right you've got the Shankly Hotel for Liverpool, and that would be the best.
It's the right, the best show.
We also have two Mersey tunnels going right under the river to the other side. One on our left now was completed in 1933, a real feat of engineering of its time, and it actually took 2,000 men 9 years to complete. Queensway Tunnel opened by a king, and the other one's called Kingsway, and it was opened by a queen. Now hold on here, it gets a bit wobbly going into William Brown Street. William Brown Street is the only street in the UK with all Grade 1 listed buildings on both sides of the street. At the bottom left here, we have the World Museum. You can see it's popular. We've got people waiting to go in already. World Museum, free to go into. You only pay for the planetarium in there. In the middle here, Central Library, and look, we've got a Dalek outside of there today. So there must be something good going on in there. And at the top of the street, the Walker Art Gallery. Now do have a look at the merman and the mermaids there on the hall. In Liverpool you were allowed to put mermen up anywhere you wanted, but you were never allowed to put a mermaid up unless she was right next to a merman. We've got an interesting character coming up on the right as we turn the corner. Dr. Duncan, there's his kindly portrait on the pub. Dr. Duncan was the GP in Liverpool in the early 1800s. He wrote lots of papers on health and hygiene. He was very concerned about the water and disease. So when the cholera broke out in 1846, Dr. Duncan was appointed the very first Chief Medical Officer for England. And on his appointment, the first thing that he publicly stated was that people should stop drinking the drinking water because it was full of disease. He advised them instead to drink the beer. If you look out front on the right, that big red brick building there is the Royal Court Theatre. It's very specialised. It does world-class work by Liverpool writers and performers. One of the two biggest theatres in this part of the city centre, and they do a lovely dinner and a show in there for a great price, and the food is fantastic. And I can promise you, if you went to a show in there, you would come out laughing for the next 3 weeks.
City tour.
City tour. City tour muna tayo.
On our left we have Seymour Terrace. It does date right back to 1833. It does have a little blue plaque on it there. And when these houses first went up, these would have been considered as small town houses, probably belonging to people in middle to upper management positions in their jobs. Now this terrace went up around the same time as Lime Street Station, so you might have found that a few of the managers to do with the train station were actually housed in these houses here. Over on the right we've got the Radio City Tower now houses our radio station. But up to the 1970s, the top of that was actually a revolving restaurant. So you could go up there, have your dinner, and see all round Liverpool at the same time. Only problem back then, if you wanted to go to the toilet, you had to go all the way back down. Back up and chase your dinner round and round. Turning back round towards Lime Street Station, you get a lovely view now of those amazingly engineered train sheds. They're all made out of glass and iron. And once upon a time they were the longest train sheds in the world. We will have a proper look at them when we go round. Next to it, the old Grand Hotel by Alfred Waterhouse. And on our left now, we have St George's Hall, our biggest Grade 1 listed, neoclassical in design. And it was built as a grand concert hall and opened its doors in 1854. Now, if there's anything that you look up on Google, do make it the interior of St. George's Hall. It's absolutely beautiful in there. King Charles says it's one of the finest examples of neoclassical architecture in the world, and having seen the inside, I can thoroughly agree with it. The podium out front is separately Grade 1 listed because of the statues. The guy on the column in front of us is Arthur Wellesley, once an MP in Liverpool, better known as the Duke of Wellington. And when the Battle of Waterloo was over and done, they melted the two big guns down, turned them into the Duke of Wellington, and stuck him up there for seagulls to land on his head. We're now on London Road.
London Road.
Once a very important commercial road. The stagecoaches used to go out this way with goods on for other cities. We're always ladies of the night. Liverpool had a notorious lady of the night immortalised in a song, and her name was Maggie May. The song goes, "Dirty Maggie May, you've taken her away, and she'll never walk down Lime Street anymore." And Maggie May was sent off to Australia for her crimes. So we gave Australia Maggie May, and they gave us Kylie Minogue. Thank you very much, Australia. We have a very famous statue coming up on the right. On the corner of the Lewis's building there, so look up in the air, and there he is, not a fig leaf to be seen. We call that statue Dickie Lewis. Now our Dickie Lewis, he went up there in 1964, after the war. The whole of that street ahead of us had taken a real beating. It was all bombed. They had to rebuild the Lewis's building in two sections. So he's really called Liverpool Resurgent by Jacob Epstein. And on our left here we've got the Big House, another one of them old gym palaces. They've actually done one of the rooms in the back to its original, and it's really, really lovely. So if you're passing this way, pop your head in and have a little look at that. Maybe stop and have a drink as well. But be aware, it's a real Scouse club, so you're going to get some good conversation in there. And in front of us on the left, the Adelphi Hotel. And from the front here, you can see the original grandeur of that. The Adelphi Hotel. There have been 3 Adelphis on that site. Every time they've sold the hotel, they've knocked it down and built a grander one. So this one with a date of 1921. Now I will say the Adelphi is a little jaded right now, but they're currently doing it up top to bottom. So hopefully it will resume its former glory very soon. We're going up now into University World. We do have 3 main universities in Liverpool. So coming up on our right now, we've got the crypt of Metropolitan Cathedral. The crypt here is in the Byzantine style by Edwin Lutyens. He did have a dream of creating the biggest cathedral in the world, but they had to stop his build in 1931 at the crypt. Had he been allowed to carry on back then, the rest of it would have cost £30 million to complete. And over on our left now, the red brick University building, just undergone its facelift. 1898 on that one by Alfred Hall. A lovely gallery in the red brick University as well, that you can go into free. Over on our right now, we have the Metropolitan Cathedral of Christ the King. But because we're all a little bit Irish in Liverpool, we simply call that one Paddy's Wigwam, and very affectionately so. After the war, the church put out a competition for someone to create a cathedral of our time. Frederick Gibbard won the commission, and this opened in 1964. It was the first contemporary built cathedral in the UK. The lantern on the top there is the biggest expanse of stained glass windows in the world, with over 9,000 pieces of coloured glass. So lovely to visit when the sun's shining. So turning on to Hope Street, the only street in the world with a cathedral either end. And on our left now, the Everyman Theatre, home of fantastic drama, and they've always had a great youth theatre that put many young people out who went on to have a great career. People like Julie Walters, Stephen Graham, Kathy Tyson, and many, many more. Now coming along towards the Phil, coming up on the right-hand corner, the only Grade 1 listed pub in the UK. Originally only served men's, but only had a men's toilet. That men's toilet is the only Grade 1 listed toilet in the UK. And you can go in the Phil with your bus ticket, show it at the bar, and get a free glass of bubbly on us.
Go on.
Beautiful restaurants coming up on the left here. Happy on. And round the corner you've got the Quarter. I cannot rate them highly enough. They are absolutely wonderful. On our left, over the wall, you can see Blackburn House there. It was originally a family home in the 1700s, but the Blackburns gave it to the city in 1841, stipulating that it should always be used to educate girls and women. And I'm proud to say that building is still fulfilling that role to this day. Turning round now towards Liverpool Cathedral. If anyone wants to get off here, please ring the bells. Okay, so Liverpool Cathedral on our left there, the longest cathedral in the world, the 5th biggest in volume, and it took 74 years to build. They started at the other end in 1904 and completed at this end in 1978. And it's by Sir Giles Gilbert Scott. Remarkably, Giles Gilbert Scott was only 22 years old when he designed that. He'd never even been to architecture school. Was as the bombed-out chair, for obvious reasons. And the statue in the grounds there is the Truce statue by Andy Edwards, commemorating Christmas Day 1914 in Belgium, when both sides put their guns down and they met in the middle and played a game of football all day. And the statue team actually put that resin statue on the back of a lorry in December 2014. They took it all the way to Belgium, and it hit the same field on Christmas Day 2014. So 100 years after the event. And people in Belgium put their Christmas dinners back. They came from all over Belgium to pay the tribute to that statue and gave the team so much love for that. Now, the bombed-out church is quite often open on a Saturday afternoon, so if you do come up this way to have your lunch or to go for your free glass of bubbly in the Phil, have a little look to see if it's open later on. Now, do look down the street on the right now, Gold Street. We absolutely love Gold Street in Liverpool. That'll get really full really quickly, that street. And it's got a lovely Liverpool vibe to it. It's also got wonderful cafes and restaurants from all around the world where you won't be charged Albert Duck prices. So do give Gold Street a go. We highly recommend it. We're now in Chinatown. It's not a very big Chinatown, but we do have the longest settled Chinese community in the UK. And to celebrate that community, we have our wonderful Chinese arch ahead of us. That Chinese arch is the biggest Chinese arch outside of mainland China. It was opened for Chinese New Year 2000. The words on the top there simply say China. In Liverpool, we like to support our young people in the arts, and about 20 years ago, the graffiti wall that you see opposite you now was established by a company called Zap Graffiti. Now, 20 years on, it's a bit battered, obviously, but I'll tell you what, That practice hall really served its purpose. And what we wanted to teach the young ones was the unwritten rules about where you don't go tagging. We also wanted them to work with established graffiti artists to up their skills. And it really has done its job over the years. People are still coming back putting new work over the old. So every city really should have a practice wall. It does stop the young people from tagging in the wrong places. Now if we look ahead of us, just on the opposite side of the road there is a boundary, and it is the boundary to an area called Toxteth. Now years ago, many years ago, in the 1200s to be precise, Toxteth was King John's hunting grounds. If you look out to the right now, you can see the top of an old industrial building, and that is the old Keynes Brewery. And the chimney on it, that was the old burning house. And quite often on the big dock gates, they would put a dock foreman, and he would frisk the dockers as they came out of work. And if they were carrying small contraband like cigarettes, tobacco, it would be seized, and in theory, it would be burnt in the burning house. Please note I said in theory. Now as we go in, if you look to the right, you can see the Museum of Liverpool, the grey contemporary building in front on the right. And I have referenced that a few times on the way round. Free to go into that one. And in front of us now, this building with the red columns is the Maritime Museum. And that also houses the International Museum of Slavery. Both of them free to enter. We have one last big gallery to point out to you. Inside of the Albert Dock, we have the Tate Liverpool. A lovely contemporary gallery, free to enter. You only pay for the special exhibitions in there. All that's left to say is have a lovely time in our city. I hope I've done you proud, and thank you for listening.